Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing great. So today we find out like Defiance has three new 0 DTE ETFs coming out. So let's get into it. So when I first looked at these, I wasn't as excited, but I am glad that Defiance is kind of like firing back. I was just kind of wondering if this is just a coincidence or if it's just they had like something planned in the pipeline for a long time, or if this is some type of like Counter-Strike, since it wasn't that long ago when I made like the ProShares the I Spy review. So I'm probably thinking like they probably were thinking, well, some of our target customers are probably not too thrilled with like NAV erosion and blah blah blah. So this might be a good way to kind of like have some of those customers kind of move over into like these ETFs. So the official name for these guys is Defiance S&P 500 Target Income ETF, which is a pretty interesting kind of like concept. So I wonder if they're trying to, I guess like what I'm trying to think of is like maybe like if there's any like gains from selling any of the covered uh, call spreads. They'll probably keep some of that maybe in reserve, and maybe like this will help lower some of the volatility in like the underlying ETF price. But unfortunately, that's gonna mean like sacrificing some distribution yield. Uh, Unfortunately, these three they don't have like a ticker yet. Uh, this was filed on, let's see, December 15th. So if everything goes well, maybe these will come into existence maybe in maybe late February or early March. But again, none of these have been approved yet. But it is interesting kind of to see what they're planning out. So I'm kind of it's interesting to see that they decided to go with like a covered call credit spread instead of a put credit spread, which is interesting because the current, like for example, the JEPY, JEPY, QQQY, IWMY, they're doing in the money puts. So I thought like if they're gonna do something like this, that they would have gone with like just buying like a put somewhere for protection, and that would help offset some of the volatility in the NAV overall NAV balance. But maybe this is just like them testing stuff out, and maybe there's like more strategies coming. Um, I was personally hoping for the maybe like the EEMY to come out first, but maybe like they'll come out like maybe around like the same time frame too. So who knows? Well, I also would have preferred kind of like other products instead of like the stock products, maybe since like if there are plans to cut interest rates, I would think the bond products might be uh, like maybe like a better opportunity. But of course, like what's to stop them from like early next year? Like I'll be digging around like the SEC dumpster again, and then finding out, oh well, they do have maybe like commodities based, forex based. There's like all this like potential opportunity here. So getting back to these type of funds, again, this is interesting because they're changing tactic. Maybe this is why they're decided to do with uh, credit spread rather than a call credit spread rather than a put credit spread because this thing over here it involves holding shares of unaffiliated passively managed ETFs that seek to track the performance of the index. So like for example, like JEPY, they'll probably use maybe uh, either the regular SPY and then sell credit call spreads on top of it. And then the same thing, with like triple QY, like they'll probably use triple Q, and then IWMY will probably use IWM, so on and so forth. Um, and then over here it says, you know, this is where this is like the for example, the call credit spread, they're selling call options at a strike price at or near the money. So this is pretty interesting. So this will probably maximize like their uh, extrinsic value kind of like bleed. or like theta decay. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how they go about doing this. I'll be really interested in this to see like how with the holdings. So that'll be more instructive. But again, until they do so, this is just still speculation on our part. And over here, I like how they're pretty emphatic about this, where it's distribution over appreciation. So, if people are complaining, oh well, they're distributing too much, but the name of the game here, they're more interested in distributing the yield from like the option premium, and then like any appreciation will kind of be incidental. So they're saying upfront, hey, we seek to generate monthly income at the monthly target. And this is really interesting because they haven't uh, put out like what's the target? Is it 10% a year, 20% a year? I'll be interested to see how they do this because I do have some projections coming up. Saying it's depending on the value of the index, blah blah blah. Uh, Seeks to participate in some of the potential gains. So even here, they're pretty upfront. They will not participate directly in approximately the first 0 to 50%. Or actually, it's not 50%. This is like 50 basis points of any daily gains of the index. So, you know, again, these are managed by like a good old friends. So good old Mr. J will be handling the management of some of these funds, along with some of their kind of like the portfolio managers that you've seen in like other yield backs and Defiance products. In case you don't get the reference, this is Harley Quinn. This is from like the old Batman, the animated series. When I was growing up, I loved this cartoon. Um, but these characters are still, still relatively current. But anyway, back to this. So this is just like my part of my overall conspiracy theory, where the Defiance they want to bring out kind of like more boring and like the safe stuff first, and then bring out like the big guns, because this way they can say, in case of the future, like the SEC decides to deny, other products coming out, they can just say, well, you let us do this before. So again, that's just my conspiracy theory. Um, my one concern is I don't know how popular this will be because I think the general public's still kind of derpy regarding any options related ETFs. Even just like the basics, they have a hard time with just like basic cover calls and basic cash secured puts. But I hope that maybe like one step at a time, once like people get used to kind of like the JEPY and triple QY, then these are kind of like the next step in like the evolution. So I hope they'll understand credit spreads. Um, because here's the bad thing. Like anytime you cap volatility, you also get to cap your potential returns. So I just did a projection just on one. For example, if they do sell credit spreads on the SPX, they're gonna take in like 2015 cents premium. If it's 5 point wide, then your risk is going to be 2085 cents. So that gives you a 75% return. Of course, this is like a very idealized perfect world scenario because this is actually higher than like the regular triple QY, IWMY, and JPY. So of course, I don't expect this to be like the kind of like the normal return. So what I did just to be conservative, I assumed like a 70% win rate and then like, the 30% loss. And that'll get us down to like 65 cents instead of like 2050 cents per trade. And then like, I think 70% win rate would be fairly reasonable, especially if they, um, they're professionals. So I would expect, somewhere something around this range, and that still gets us to like a 23% annual return, which is still pretty darn good when you think about it. I'm thinking maybe in the future, maybe just doing something more of these kind of projections, like more, uh, I guess like more realistic returns. Hopefully, I obviously I hope that they can do better. But this is maybe if I sandbag the numbers, maybe this will help you know, take away some of these like negative YouTube videos where they're saying, oh, well, these funds suck because blah blah blah, they're not sustainable or whatever. So again, I did the same thing for like NDX and the RUT. Again, these are the perfect world scenarios. In the RUT, for some reason, just happened to be like 69%. But again, this is just a projection based off of the vertical spreads. Over here on the right, again, it's $5 wide. But I did notice something interesting on the NDX. I think it's just like a quirk of like the timing. This one is a 25 point wide spread because those were like the only ones that are available at the time of this recording. For like the next closest 0 DTE. But you'll notice like how like the way the spreads work. Um, and how like the pricing of like these options, they kind of hover around like the 70% level. And of course, I don't expect like 70% maybe in the beginning. Um, but then like over time they'll naturally kind of like uh head head down. And again, assuming a 70% win rate, they'll still give you like 23% annual returns. So I think that these are could be interesting for some people that are more, if you, especially if you're already retired, you don't want like wild swings in your distribution. So these could be like a like a nice compromise. So I'm hoping for like in the future, I guess like when they finally do approve like the crypto stuff, there'll be 0 DTs on those, and then there'll be corresponding ETF products. And then individual stock 0 DTEs. Although this will probably benefit like maybe like the yield max uh, uh, portion of like the Zeta managed funds because they do concentrate more on like the individual stocks. So, but then like for either both like yield max or Defiance, like I really would like to see more complex options utilized if possible. Because like you know once you bring out like double diagonals, iron condors, ratios, strangles, that'll bring up like a better like distribution of like potential returns for like different funds, and then like that gives like opportunity for more people. So for example, if you're younger, like something like strangles might be more your speed, just because like you have more time to recover from any potential losses, whereas iron condors at double diagonals, they're kind of more on the boring side. So let's say like for someone like me, where I'm on the older side and I'm more interested in more retirement level income, like these will probably be more beneficial for someone like me. And then of course like ratios and whatever else that they decide to bring out, that'll give people that are more kind of in the middle of the road. So I think like overall they're doing a good job. Although I was kind of expecting something else, but this is still pretty good. Can't complain about that. So I'm glad like Defiance are working on more products for us. So if you like this type of content, please consider giving this a like, a subscribe. Really, I really do think that these Yieldmax, Defiance, even some of the competitors like Neos, Curve Invest, Simplify, etc. I think like just more funds in general. Will really help the space, especially like like the past video on like pro shares. Even like some of the like the older established ETF makers are kind of getting in on this act. So I think like overall competition is good because this gives us like more choices and we can kind of like better customize our own portfolios. So thank you for watching. I really want to thank all the subscribers so far for helping me out and also helping out like kind of like just the community in general. I think you guys are awesome. So thank you very much. I hope you guys making good money out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.